Herzlich willkommen beim Finance Executive Podcast, dem Podcast für Finanzverantwortliche aus Scale-Up, Mittelstand und Konzernen. Hier geben wir CFOs, VPs und Finance Leads eine Bühne, um ihre Geschichten, Werdegänge und Fachwissen zu teilen. Erfahre, was die Menschen hinter den Zahlen motiviert und welche Themen sie bewegen. Jeder Gast bringt seine individuellen Einblicke mit, die dich inspirieren und fachlich weiterbringen. Tauche ein in die Welt der Finanzführungskräfte, persönlich und praxisnah. Today in Finance Executive Podcast, we have Samara Hernandez-Williams Buck. Samara works as a finance and controlling director at Track in Germany and oversees typical finance tasks such as reporting, closing, budgeting, forecasting, and other operational topics. What she really likes about finance is that there's always room to improve and that you have to look back and ask yourself what you could have done better and did previously wrong. It is impressive to see how Samara has developed the skill of adapting. Coming from Mexico to Germany, she first had to get to know the culture in Frankfurt, and after moving to a smaller city in Rheinland-Pfalz, also the language German. In my eyes, one of the hardest languages, and she does it amazingly. After that, she went to Hamburg and got into a new branch with new processes. So an overall adapting champion, I would say. Besides that, she has a really intense personality in a positive and a negative way, as she described in an earlier conversation. She's always committed, and if she does a project, she wants to do it right. For me, it was one of the warmest conversations I had in a while with a stranger, and I'm really happy to have you now on the podcast episode. Welcome, Samara.
Thank you, Yuri. That's so nice to hear. I'm really happy and excited for this opportunity.
Yeah, me as well. I think you have a really interesting story, and I would start with the first questions to look back into your history. As already described, it was not starting in Germany, it was starting in another country. So tell us, when you have your look back into the last school year, there are coming up many thoughts how you want to pursue your career. How was it for you? Which thoughts came up, and how were the first steps looking in your journey?
Well, for me, after finishing the school, I studied 2 bachelor's degrees. So I had a moment where I was preparing one thesis for my bachelor in business administration.
Mm-hmm.
Then in this moment, I was preparing, when that was on the thesis for economics. But in the meantime, I needed to start working. So I started looking what I would like to do. So I started focusing a bit more on finance, and I started applying through the job boards from my university.
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly came an opportunity originally for a logistics company in Belgium.
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly I received like an answer 2 months ago, but it was not Belgium anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It was to Germany. And it was something that at that moment I was looking for a job, and I didn't have any commitment to stay in Mexico. So I thought, you know what? I want to start building my career. I want to see the world.
Mm-hmm.
Let's grab the things and go.
Okay.
And I just left, and I had already like get my degrees. I was ready to start not only getting the input that I had from the university, but start to applying a little less conversation, a little more action.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's interesting. But first, when we have a closer look back, it's like we had your first touch points to finance, and you were like, yeah, finance, that is my topic. I want to pursue, in, especially in this case. Or how was it for you? Was it like a more slowly process, or was it directly like your first love was finance then?
It was a bit of a first love with finance. Before coming to Germany, of course, I had doing some work while I was studying during the summer. For example, I built a business plan for a company in Mexico that it was international, and everyone was always focusing on finance. And of course, at the end, products and services could be really, really good. But at the end, if they are not sustainable in a way that you can run the business without getting in debt, or that the same employees and the same entrepreneurs receive something,
Mm,
then probably you have to do something different. And I found out that, yeah, for finance, it's one of the most necessary things that anyone has to have. And I was always really good with numbers. So
mm,
this thing that you can see the numbers and translate that to the people is something that I really enjoy. My dad is a doctor,
mm,
and somehow I see finance a bit like that. I mean, you go to the doctor, you check what's going on, they see with either blood test or how are you feeling, and they can tell you, okay, if you change something, you make it better. And
right.
that's something that I think finance and controlling is like that. You are a bit of a doctor of the company.
Mm,
And that was something that I really enjoy. And that's something that, of course, when they were looking someone in finance in Germany, I say, let's give it a try. Of
cool.
course, it was really different. And yeah, but it was really a nice task. Also, I had really good finance teachers. I had really good courses in my university, from human resources, from strategy, marketing. But I really believe when you have a really good teacher, it makes you like the things more.
100%. If the person who communicates the particular topic is not communicating it good, then you will feel like or have a bad impression of the whole topic at all. Because I mean, in the other case, it could be a nice topic, but if it's like the presentation of it is not good, then it's like you don't feel that it's really nice. So I think it's really important to have good teachers who communicate the topic well. And that was also like a driving factor for you, that you were like,
Yeah.
okay, finance looks good from the student side.
Yeah. For example, what was one of the courses that you liked the most when you were studying?
For me, I think it was marketing, especially because our marketing professor was also the marketing, the CMO of a big company. I found really
What?
interesting. So for me, had a special standing, I think, because of his background. And I was like, okay, if he talks marketing, then I think he knows what he's talking
But
of,
it's
right? So
yeah.
there was also a certain amount of trust, and he was like an amazing teacher because he was really student focused, always on their needs, and made up his whole communication and also the topics he presented in a way that it was like measure or like customized on the needs of the students. And I think it was a great way of teaching. He had a
Yeah.
great background, and that together was just a good experience where I was like, yeah, I liked marketing. I think for like close to everyone, marketing first, when you hear like first of it, is like a more, I would say, more attractive topic, right? Than for example, I love my accounting people, but as accounting, for example, right? And but also then I recognize, okay, every topic is important. And now the best experience, of course, was at my event and conference time, when it was all about accounting and controlling. Really got to know how important those topics are. But especially now, today, with my business partner, he has the finance background, and how he looks on things and how he structures things is like so much better than I do it, right? So I'm more the people guy. I'm always jumping into some conversations and open and like to communicate with people, but he just looking if everything has the right direction. So that is like, I think you need everything, and it is always useful to have those complementary people
Yeah.
in your organization. Yeah.
No, totally. I was going to tell you, I mean, it's a bit, each of you then had like a specific strength
Mm,
that perhaps the other doesn't have. So it's really good that you come and say like, okay, I got your back. I covered that side.
100%. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, it is that way, and I think also for you when you were like in then coming to Frankfurt was your first position in Germany, you said,
Yeah,
right?
in Frankfurt.
What I mean, I know like now I would say a little bit of like Mexican culture, but I think when you have a look at German cultures, it's quite different. How did you
Yeah.
experience like a real culture shock, or how was it for you?
I think there's many things happening there, because
Mm,
I came for the work, and it's like, yeah, you have to focus on your career, but as you said, at the same time you have the cultural shock that is like coming, start preparing your life, because it's like I'm not just coming to work. I have to find an apartment, open a
yeah.
bank account, and of course it was really different. I mean, everything has good and bad things.
Hmm.
But for example, something that I love from Germany is that the things work. They make time, take time, but they work.
Mm,
Is this thing like dealing with German bureaucracy was
yeah.
difficult, but you get the things done. You know that is going to happen for sure.
Mm,
Perhaps in Mexico it doesn't work, so that's something. And even if, yes, the German culture could be, or there's an idea that Germans tend to be also a bit more, how to say it, more serious.
mhm,
I have to be honest, most of my actual friends are Germans and are from the best friendships that I can have. I mean, it's a bit difficult, let's say, to get in or get
mm,
closer. But once you are part of the circle, the inner circle, you know for sure that you can always count with your friends. I mean, it's this thing that for anything you could have seen them like 2 months ago, but if you need something, everyone is going to be there to help you. And is something that really is really really nice. I mean, I realized that most of the time, for example, you have to show what who you are,
mm,
what you can do, what are your interests, and that's what opens, I think, opens the door that the people feel a bit more comfortable in getting to know you. And I think that's something that also I saw a lot with my work. It was this thing that everyone was always nice and polite, but it was that I really have to like show what I came to Germany,
mm,
that I had, that I'm good at my work. And and it was like, if I cannot speak perfect German, then let action speak. So I
yeah.
had to really like do the work, and of course learn the basic German words like
Mm.
ja, nein, this is kein Fahrradweg, and all these things that that you have to learn as first thing in Germany.
Mm,
And yeah, and also something that I love from Germany is also that the finance world is really international.
mm,
I I mean, in Mexico, you were really close with the USA
yeah.
and with other Latin American countries, but we all speak Spanish. While here in Germany, it was so amazing in Frankfurt to see all the connections. Most of the software or reportings have to be in English and in German. So that's something that for me was really easy to work with.
Mm,
I found many people in finance speaking English, and also, well, Frankfurt is a really international city. But you can see how also Germany is like a super crucial partner in many businesses here in Europe. I mean, it's this thing that you speak with people from Luxembourg, from Denmark, from France, from the UK. I mean, Germany, yeah, is like one of the protagonists of the European economy. And for that, either you have people that speak 2 or 3 languages most of the time, like English and their native language. And I know
right.
that in Germany specifically, there's lots of people speaking French. And if you are closer to certain borders, you speak more, at least like the basic words. So yeah.
It's really interesting how really new perspectives you're just giving me to German culture. And what I really found like a good perspective is, and it is now getting conscious again to me. We are real loyal and committed to the bondages we have to our friends when
Yeah.
they are our friends, right?
Yeah.
So it's like hard to get into the groups in, but if you're in, you don't come out as
Yeah.
fast as you can.
You're
You're
like adopted already.
Yeah,
I mean, like,
you're adopted then, and then you're like in this circle. You're
yeah.
100% right, because it's like here, for example, I'm now in Dubai in the UAE. Here it's like a real intercultural community, right? So only I think here are like close to 80% are foreigners coming into the country. So everyone is way more open than in Germany, but everyone has also their own like vision and kind of work behavior, what they want to do. So everyone is open. You can have a chat with everyone on the street, but it is not that committed as in Germany, right? It is
Yeah.
not that committed, and I think that are like crucial differences from especially those cultures. Yeah, but also a good view because I always tend now that I'm like out of the country and always seeing only the there are 100% there are so many good things of German culture, but I tend to also look the other side where I criticize or something, and I don't think that is a good way. It's also always good to be have a critical thinking, yes, but
Yeah.
to criticize as often, no. Just get more into being thankful, grateful for what we have, right? That is a way better perspective, and now I have more things again to count to be grateful for. So
Yeah.
thankful, good, Samara. Yeah, but then you just started in Frankfurt. What was the first destination on the career side you were like getting adopted into the company?
Well, I went directly to one of the biggest German companies.
Mhm,
And of course, is like a really traditional German company and is DHL,
mhm,
so Deutsche Post. So it's like one of the most German structured ways of working. And now, really, there's one reason why it's one of the top companies in the world and in Europe. And I started working in finance, and I was working a little with the controller, the head of controlling there,
mhm,
and his junior controller. And it was so nice because that's like when I was starting to work with controlling and finance. But for something really funny, while I was immersing there in getting to learn or start applying finance and also start learning a bit of controlling, for I don't know how it happened that in the office I have to sit with account management. So it was like a completely different department,
mhm,
but it was so nice because they literally was like, who are you? I am the girl from finance, but they were like, oh no, come with us, sister. And I had colleagues from Bayern,
mhm,
colleagues from Darmstadt, colleagues from close to Frankfurt, but this one from Bayern, one from Niedersachsen. So you start also seeing how also Germany is so different in inside the same land.
mhm,
But it was really nice to see also the way we're working, because also you see and start to understand how the different people from different Bundesländer, that also could be that someone came from the ex-DDR, also
mhm,
how they think, how they work, and the different of ages was also something that you start noticing. For each of them, it was really a different moment in Germany when they start working, or right now that they were getting close to the retirement. So it was really interesting to see, learn. As you said, of course, it's like getting into the culture, because I have to integrate myself. I mean, I have so many friends from Colombia, from Venezuela, and it's really, really nice to speak your own language. I will never
mhm.
deny that.
Yeah.
But if I don't, I knew that if I want to integrate, if I want to learn German, if I want to also live here, I have to learn the culture. I have to hang out with Germans, see what they think, what they like. And also that's the only way that also I could build my work network,
Mm.
because there was no one to say like, oh yeah, I know her work, she's good. There was like absolute no one that could say that. I mean, I had to start building credibility.
Mm. Yeah.
And luckily, I mean, one of the things that also I love in Germany is that at the end, it never cared if I was Mexican, if I was a woman, what was my religion. It didn't matter. It was like, she can do the job, let her do the job.
Cool.
And that's something that unfortunately now is getting much, much better,
Mhm.
but still not in every country you get these opportunities.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think you have, like, as you told me, like you were in Egypt and Canada, probably USA as well, or
Just vacation.
okay, vacation, but like
Yeah,
theoretically, yes. So
yeah,
Mexico, now Germany. You learn, get to know like really different cultures, really different
yes.
people. When you have a look on the German work culture, what do you think are like good components of that? And on the other side, probably also components where we could improve. Let's frame it that way.
Okay, then the first thing, and that's something that, as you said, that also for you as a German, there's things that you see and perhaps are like basics for you. But
Mhm.
I can tell you, like from another country, one of the best things that Germans have in the workplace is the security. I mean,
Mhm.
I know that the conversations about the insurances, like a social one, the medical one, and the pension, something that it's for all Germany so basic and everything. Yeah, that's for granted.
Mhm.
In not many lands that happen. One of the things that happened in my workplace after Frankfurt, when I was in Rheinland-Pfalz, my company was a UK company,
Mhm.
and when Brexit came, they closed everything. And that was something that every single person from the company, that they were Germans, they told me, okay, here comes we're going to help you. You have to do this from the Arbeitslosgeldanträgen and German bureaucracy. But
Mm.
everyone was there to help you, to follow the steps by steps.
Yeah.
But it was something that you could see that is a security that you don't get in every land. And everyone also is so conscious that they should do their jobs, and but also they know that if you are sick, you are sick. You don't have to work. I
Yeah.
think that's something really clear in the German when you're working with German, that I'm sick or I'm in my lunch break or I'm this. You know that. You know your time. And in other countries or some things, like you could be sick, but you won't take the day off because there's a risk that yeah, I may don't get pay, or it's a bit different.
100%.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
also in the workplace, the one thing that I that also makes perhaps not everyone in Germany, but you could see some of them is because of this same security and could be better, is the conversation of that's not my job.
Hmm.
That also the people, there could be persons that, why don't you do this, or why you didn't ask something, or that's not my job. That also there's not everyone, but there's some people that you would focus on your job and not completely taking other tasks.
Mm.
And for some companies that works perfectly because you want like to be specialized in each task. Mostly, for example, I see that in a lot of accounting departments, you have one person for travel expenses, one person for accounts payable, one person for accounts receivable, one person doing the bank. But at the end, the people look a bit of the view, the holistic view, that at the end, all that is your balance sheet and your P&L, and that is connected to your cash flow. It's a bit that the people focus on one task and would be perhaps better and but also that demands also that you are open to learn more things, to take over new tasks, and go for
Mhm.
more.
Yeah.
That I would say something that is really, really good is a workplace where you know that everyone else understand if you're sick, that there's not a huge pressure when there are specific situations that can happen to anyone, but also it could be a bit comfortable to say, yeah, um, I don't need to
I
do.
think I have headache, so I'm staying at home. Is that what you're referring to? Or
Yeah, a bit, or that, yeah, I mean, that is like, "Oh, I feel bad, taking my sick leave, I went to the doctor and I won't be coming to the office," and that's can happen to anyone, so I found that really great.
Mhm.
But then when the people is also in a comfort zone, it becomes a bit that, um that
Yeah.
perhaps you don't go for more,
Mhm.
you know. And it's
Yeah.
not arrogant, of course, I mean, but that's something that sometimes, and mostly in really, really big companies, can happen.
Yeah. Yeah. No, definitely. That are like it creates those rules, those behaviors are good for those people who are actually sick and cannot work, right? But on the other side, there's also like a sort of comfortable space where people can just jump in if they're like, okay, today is like good sunshine outside, so I think it's like I have headache, right, and I cannot work, so enjoying the beach and sun outside. Yeah, I think definitely it's hard to find the right balance between that and to structure, I think, a rule that divides those two persons or groups, right? Yeah, okay, interesting. So you started at Frankfurt, a big city, and then you told me you moved to Rhineland-Pfalz. That must be also like in Germany,
Yeah,
like a completely culture transition, I would say, from a
yeah,
big finance city to, I don't know, a village or something. I think it was in
yeah,
Rhineland-Pfalz,
it
right?
was Tria, and it was beautiful. I mean, it's a really nice little town.
Mhm.
But you are right, I mean, that was when I really, really have to learn German, because it was this thing that, if you speak English, not everyone will speak English.
No.
And that was a moment that I was like, okay, I need to speak German.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the people was from the most welcoming. Even I know that people would say, but it's a dorf, is a village.
Mm,
For me, the people was so welcoming. It was really nice to be there, and also, I start taking more part of, German, let's say, traditions also
mm,
with my group of friends, like all these things that, it's first of May, you have to go hiking, so we go hike, and then you go with all your group of friends. Then it's like, is the Weihnachtsmarkt, or the Christmas market. And the most beautiful thing is that even if the origin of certain things are religion, is not about the religion, it's about learning the culture. And just this type of spending time with the people, see what is the humor, what yeah, I mean, the German tends to be really, really funny once you meet them.
You're right,
Yeah, no,
really?
really, I mean,
Okay.
everyone is like, yeah, no, they are really serious, but once you cross a border, suddenly you're like, wow, I mean, Germans got a really lots of humor. And also, Oktoberfest, I mean, everyone likes to talk about this, the classic one in Munich, that is
Mm,
amazing. But when you go to the little towns, those Oktoberfest is when you really can have fun, you talk with people, and everyone is really, really nice. I mean, once you also, I think, as you said, German is a really difficult language. But when people see that you're really trying, the people appreciate that. And I think
yeah.
that opens also the door. I think the people start also being like nicer, because they know that it's an effort for you.
Mm. Yeah,
So
okay. Yeah, I see that point, but you have to like first of all, how big was the village you were living in? How many people?
In the village, is really small. I couldn't say is um no, that one I cannot tell you exactly how many people was,
Hmm.
but in my office, we were like 20 people, and most
Okay,
of
okay.
all we were like on the same age, like from we were like from 20 to perhaps 40 was the older, and every time that it was the carnival, we will do the carnival in the office.
Okay, okay, yeah.
And it was, yeah, that you really start seeing all these traditions, and then you are like taking part and just spending time with the people and having a nice time.
I think it is really that point. If you try to engage in those
Yeah,
communities, then they will be like open and get you into the circle. I think that's true. And yeah, Oktoberfest is also a good component. Of course, the Wiesn in Munich is like really big, but we also have look. I come from like a 300 people village from Schleswig-Holstein, so I think that's why I ask. It is like real village, you know, and
yeah.
everyone knows everyone, and there we also have like a Oktoberfest, and there's like a big tent then always, and I
And you
think
know everyone.
probably yeah, of course I know everyone. It's like it was 100 meters from my home, so I could just walk over in 2 minutes and yeah, it was branded with Tjorve's home, right? And no, it was not. But yeah, of course, there you know knew everyone, and we also had once I think it was an exchange student coming in, and then he was like the most interesting person on the whole event there, right? Because then people got. He couldn't speak English, so he couldn't speak German, so he was just speaking English. And then, of course, the people were drunk, right? And then were like really open to get to know the person. And especially, I think when you live in smaller villages where it's not like everyone knows everyone, right? There's like a close bond in this community. Then there's also a high interest to get to know you, and I think in this kind of sense it is always more easy to engage in like smaller communities where it's just a smaller circle of people because if you get into a big city it's kind of anonymous, right? It's hard to because everyone is living their own life, and it's more
Yeah.
hard, I think, to engage into certain communities in the whole city.
Yeah, also I have to be honest because also I'm an immigrant, and also that's a big topic that I always say to everyone. You have to stop hanging out just with Latinos, let's say,
Mm.
just with Mexican, just with people from Colombia. I mean, it's really nice. It's a nice feeling, like I told you, speaking your own language, but you cannot just do that. If you just do that, at the end, not only the language, but it's this part of you will never find your really place is you come to this point that you are just like in a big city you are just getting with people that speak your own language, that like what you like, that you know you are literally finding what fits you instead of you trying to fit. You know,
Right,
and
right, yeah, yeah.
at the end, as you said, not everything is perfect, and also you left for some reason in Germany, but also you come back. And in my case, I left Mexico also, but it was my decision. At any moment, you can always say, you know what, I don't like this, go home. But staying in a place and just complain or don't like it or not even giving it a chance,
Mm.
I would say that's get garnics. I mean, then, yeah, I mean, then go home. And
Yeah.
that's something that in a big city, so as you said, it's easier because you can connect, there's more people, and you can find all these international places. I mean, of course, there are things that I miss from my food, let's say, or things like that, but I rather, every time that I'm going to do something, I'd rather invite friends that are Germans because if I'm going to show something from my culture, it's not that I'm going to come and force it. I'm going to share what is nice so you can understand better also why I'm like who I am.
It's more like an invitation, I think, right?
Yeah,
And then people are also way more interested to go into your cultures, and also like this feeling is created then that they want to do something for you, especially
yeah,
for example when they have Christmas. I don't know, they cook burritos or something. I don't know what they do, right? But just to involve also the
the people.
interest and background from everyone in this community.
Yes, I mean it's this thing that it just like people is inviting you like in Frankfurt, drink Apfelwein. Of course, every
Mm,
German told me you have to give it a try to Apfelwein, and it's like okay, then you have. I'll invite all of you for Abendessen to have dinner, and we all are going to have some quesadillas, burritos, and it's going to be spicy, so be prepared,
mm.
and it's this thing that just as I'm being welcome in the country, I should be also open to learn from the country where I'm living.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Not only, of course, it's good to invite those people into your culture, your specific topics, but if you go into another culture, you have to adapt. I think that is
Yes.
that is a big topic overall in countries.
Yeah, but
But let's get stay at our topic and
yeah, of
not make it
course.
political.
Yeah, I
So
was going to tell you a thing. We go back to
we go back. Now you were in Rhineland-Pfalz, and
yeah,
then I think you went as the next career station to Hamburg, and
yes.
also a new branch. So again, you had to adapt. How was that?
That was with this situation of the Brexit that everything was closed. I started looking for a job since Rheinland-Pfalz is really close to Luxembourg. Everyone was telling me like, go to finance, go to Luxembourg, and I even got an opportunity there. But that was exactly the moment when I realized that I wanted to stay in Germany. I had
Mm,
I applied for different jobs in finance because in that little town they told me, I'm sorry, but you are overqualified for jobs here, and you need German,
yeah, yeah.
and like really German. So that was when I said, okay, if I'm going to move, I'm going to apply to what looks interesting, what it looks good. And I applied for different positions. And it was that moment that I had the opportunity in Luxembourg and in Hamburg. All of my friends were like, okay, you go to Luxembourg, but it's 20 minutes from drive from here. We will see each other. And I was like, no, I'm not going to Luxembourg. I'm going to Hamburg. Everyone was shocked. Why? I don't want that. Was the moment that I know I don't want to leave Germany. So I rather move to the north of Germany, far away to the cold, but the prettiest, prettiest city of Germany, and start over. I can learn, I can adapt, and it's a good position. And they really seem interested in me. And why not? I mean, I have been following the opportunities that I get. I mean, if you don't know if next day you're going to have the same chances, so just
Mm,
take it and do the best you can. And
yeah.
then I moved to Hamburg, different branch, but finance was okay. Controlling is always the tricky part because every time that you want to start measuring something, you have to understand what you're measuring.
Mhm.
And when you change from industry or from branch, that's when you have to start focusing a bit more like, okay, but what does this mean? If I divide this among these, what does this ratio say? And at the end, if I cannot understand that, I cannot show that to the other departments on everything because I'm supposed to tell them how we can be better
Yeah.
and how we can do it if I don't have a clue or if I don't understand even what I'm saying is doesn't make sense. So it was a lot of learning by doing, but also, I think nowadays is really, how to say it, um, difficult to say that you don't want to learn something. I mean,
Mm,
there's so much information. I know not every source is reliable, but you can find really good sources like for free, or you can invest a little and then you can start learning. And if, at the end, knowledge is something that if you invest for yourself is never going to go away. Doesn't matter if you change from company, at the end it stays with you. And then it was like moving to Hamburg, and the weather is way too different to the south of Germany, or well, the center of Germany. I mean, that's no question.
Yeah.
But it's one of the prettiest city. I mean, I when I go to my office, I take the ferry, and
Mhm.
just this little way to the Elbe, through the Elbe, is one of the best moments of my day.
Yeah, I can, like, I totally agree. It's like I lived there 4 years, coming from the north, right, from Schleswig-Holstein, moving to the south to Hamburg. It's like the best big city I experienced in Germany, and it's like from all those canals you have through over to the Elbe, and beautiful buildings. I think it's one of the greatest cities. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Stell dir vor, du könntest ausschließlich solche Finance Executives exklusiv in einer geschützten Umgebung kennenlernen, in welcher der Veranstalter sich darum kümmert, dass ihr mit offen gestimmten Finanzführungskräften themenbasiert in den Austausch kommt und dadurch wertvolle Insights und Erkenntnisse für euch mitnehmt. Das ist unsere Mission, das hochwertigste Eventformat im Dachraum für Finance Executives aus Scale-Up, Mittelstand und Konzern zu werden. Ein exklusives Publikum von 250 Personen bestehend aus ausschließlich Finanzführungskräften. Es erwarten euch interaktive Formate wie Breakout-Sessions, intelligentes Peer-Matchmaking und Roundtable-Diskussionen. Die hochwertigen Vorträge werden durch speziell entwickelte Frameworks garantiert, das heißt Transparenz, Praxisnähe und umsetzbares Wissen. Keine Messe, keine sales-fokussierte Veranstaltung, keine Zeitverschwendung, nur echter Austausch und wertvolle Erkenntnisse. Besuche jetzt unsere Website und trag dich unverbindlich in die Warteliste ein, um rechtzeitig alle Updates zur Agenda, Speakern, Teilnehmern und Veranstaltungsformaten zu erhalten. Und jetzt weiterhin viel Spaß mit der Podcast-Folge.
And also, that was also other thing to learn from Germany, because I had these colleagues also from Bayern or Rheinland-Pfalz in Frankfurt. Also, the people in North Germany is a bit different. But also, I found the German easier to learn. I think the Hamburg accent is a bit clearer, is a bit nicer, and that also helps. No, really, it helps a bit to like the language even more.
Yeah. And also what I have to really acknowledge is, like, Samara told me in our email chat, so mock wie dat, or and everyone who comes from the north knows that is Plattdeutsch. I think from my generation, I'm like one of really few people who can actually talk it, because my parents learned that or teach me that in my early days. But as a foreigner, I never heard that sentence coming from a foreigner's mouth. So I would say she's really much integrated today into the circle. And if you come to Hamburg, I would say definitely we have a clear Hochdeutsch, if you want
Yeah,
to get that perspective in 100%. I think in southern regions in Germany, or also on the eastern side, it's like somehow different. It's just a different accent, I would say, right?
yeah,
And but it's not as close as probably the Hamburger accent to the German you
yeah.
also learn from your perspective.
Yes. Also, there's a lot of dialects, but the Plattdeutsch was something of the few things that I start listening, and I really like it. And yeah, also I found it really, really nice. I mean,
Cool.
also here north of Germany is really, really pretty. I mean, the style of the houses. I mean, it's a really, really one of the prettiest places in Germany, I would say.
Yeah. What I now find really interesting to ask you from your like really unique perspective and journey you had in your history is like you now developed to an executive position now in Germany, and I would like to ask you, coming from Mexico, not knowing the language, developing in your finance skills, what were the main challenges for you on this whole way through?
I guess one was this thing of the language. I mean, that was really something because in some, I mentioned that in finance, commonly you have people that speak 2 or 3 languages, but for certain specific tasks and mostly in accounting, because book accounting also you have the German accounting, which has specific rules that also are related to the tax, and also specific things from human resources. So those are really complicated words. I mean, the language for all these parts are really difficult, and you tend to have also more people that speak mostly German. And I noticed that yeah, I mean, in the companies that I were, I was appreciated. I could do the job, but I was like getting into a certain level of seniority that you are like, yeah, you're a controller, you have like an implicit authority, but no one was taking that step. And
Mm.
if I have to be honest, I'm really thankful for my actual agency, because they really, my boss is someone that he's like, I don't care if she says einen instead of einem, she
Mm.
can do the job, she can
Yeah.
bring results. And that's something that this thing about the language, they really just forgot it. And they say, yeah, if she can do the job, if she can bring solutions, if she can help us, let her do her thing. Because right now they are already giving me some German lessons to get better with the German, because it's really different the German that you talk with friends at home, or to a business German is really, it's different. And also when you have a team that some of them speak all the time German, and also they um yeah, perhaps they are not more interested anymore in learning English. So it's a bit complicated. And that's something that I could be really thankful that for my boss was, I trust you, I know you can do it, go for it. And that's something that also, if someone, as a controller, you have to have certain serious talks
Hmm.
with the people, or you have to be tough in certain moments. And that's something that is a big challenge. That's, there could be people that they understand you, but if it's not that convenient, they don't want to understand you, or they are like, I'm sorry, I didn't understand.
Oh, they use that or
That has happened. And that's when
oh,
really, when you have, yeah, and it's obviously, if you're having a, as a controller, when you're questioning certain things, of course you talk about performance, and then of course people can get defensive, and it's normal.
mm,
But getting into this moment is not that good. But that's something that, of course, when you have someone that has your back, like my actual boss, that is like, that has nothing to do, we need, what she means is this and that. And
yeah.
when you know that what you're doing, you have someone that supports you, that let you do the things as you think is the best, then you're already in another level. I mean, that's something that for my company, they also work with. I have colleagues that also are not Germans, and they are really open to that. And they really, they just want to help the company to grow, that everyone is bringing results. And at the end, that's why it's a really nice environment for me to be there.
Mm.
And
Yeah, I see,
yeah,
I see it. But to be honest, I would say even though I'm a native German speaker, I would say my German is not 100% correct always. So that is I think when you have a look at articles, there is no clear logic behind it. When you say, like, for example, die Gabel or das Messer, it's like there's no like reasonable logic why you take now a feminine article or a masculine article. So it's like, of course, there's always learning potential, even though for us German natives. And I think you gained along the way really valuable insights into humans and human behaviors, human values and cultures. And because of that, I would think that you have also like really interesting views on cross-generational leadership now in your position, because in your, as I already framed you, the champion, the adapting champion, that's the right frame. You have to always analyze what's happening in front of you, right? And get a right adaptation on it. So also in leadership styles, it is like if you have the senior retirement guy or the young professional who knows nothing, and then you always have to adapt your leadership style to just
Yes.
enable those two completely different persons. And now today you're the director of finance and controlling. So you, I can imagine you gained some valuable insights and experience in the field of leadership, particularly in dealing with different generations and their needs. So today we would like to tease out the topic and gain some initial insights into how leadership and communication can be shaped across different generations, from trainees to experienced professionals to employees approaching retirement. So everyone is in our collective where we have a look at. And if you would like to know the details, so that is a sentence to our audience, you are welcome to connect with Samara afterwards and to get into a deeper conversation. Or if we are lucky, probably even meet her on the Finance Executive Summit. So let's start today with the topic. Samara, what do you see for differences in the expectations and needs of employees depending on their particular generation they're coming from?
I see two difference. One is everyone is in a different phase of their lives,
Mhm.
and two, work has not the same meaning for them. So let's tackle the first one.
Yeah.
Do you know more or less how what is the life expectancy right now in Germany,
I
or how
would
much?
guess, I would guess probably 80, 86 years.
Really good,
Really?
89. Yeah,
Oh, wow.
yeah, no, that was really good.
Let's go. Nice.
So, so let's do a bit. I was thinking about this,
Hmm.
and I decided to, due to the cultural things, it's really difficult to put just like generations of baby boomers, Gen X, millennials. I say, okay, let's just skip that and let's just do a simple exercise. We round to 90 years old. So we have 0 to 90, and we split it in three: 0 to 30, 30 to 60, and 60 to 90.
Hmm.
So let's think about these three generations. We have then the oldest one, that
Hmm.
they are already like 60 and 90. They are already most of them settled up. They have worked already most of their life. And well, right now for them, they want to just either finish the last years that they have like doing their job. Of course, it's not all of them. There are some that want to learn a little more, want to do something different, but they are settled. They know what they are doing, and also they would be more interested in a job security. Then we have the second generation that is like starting to be on that, and we are the people that we, fun fact, one of the most educated generations in different parts of the world. So we come with a lot of theory and with a lot of energy to put in practice things that we have learned. or like to try new things, control them, see how it works, follow the new trends and say, okay, let's give it a try to this
Hmm.
according to this report, or a consultant tell us how to do this, let's try, let's do. And then we have, of course, the youngest generation that also they are a bit more fresh, that they also are like super level of tech affinity. I mean, it's like you, for example, also with or also a mind like willing to take risk, to see more, to learn more, and that's like really different phases of life. Also, the second difference that it was like work doesn't mean the same. The older generation, we know that also they didn't have most of their work life home office,
Right.
or something that is like working from abroad, working somewhere else. It was like going to the office. So also work was a really important part of their social life.
Mm.
They work was not only like I do my work, I'm out, but also that's where they will do friendships, where they will spend most of the time. And also it was something that if you had a good job, then you will have security, and then you will have what you need in life.
Yeah.
And then, for example, my generation, we start the talk work-life balance. It's like, wait a second, yeah, I want to learn, I want to do things, but I want to have fun, I want to enjoy my life. So working is important, I'm ready to learn, but I'm going to set boundaries.
Yeah.
And then come also the third generation that, yeah, work is important. I want to challenge myself, but it's not everything for me. I have more things to do. There's other things that I want to do. And that's also related to the job security, because just as what is the meaning for job for each of these generations and the phase of their lives, there's a higher chance that the younger generation, if I don't like this job, I don't have perhaps to pay a house. I don't have to perhaps pay the start paying the university of my kids. Perhaps I can, if I don't like this job, I will move to the next one. I don't need
Mm.
the job security. I rather grow and invest in myself. The
Mm.
older generation could be that they say, yeah, well, right now I don't think I want to change job. I want to just finish and get my pension.
Yeah.
And then in the middle, the second generation, you can find different things, because also there could be ones with kids that say right now is not the perfect time. Others that we could say like, you know what, now I want to go to Luxembourg, and I go to Luxembourg. No, you, but it's a bit of a mix. And I think those two are the biggest differences between the generations. Everyone is looking job differently, and also everyone is in a moment of their lives that doesn't match to the other one.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think that I think what a like trend it definitely is when you have a look at the older generations, their job and work had a really high
Yeah,
importance, and because of that, if you have this slang or buzzword work-life balance, work was high, life was low in that
yeah,
kind of case, and it's now the development is like it's changing in the completely
yeah,
other direction, because if I
yes,
now I'm 24, like pretty young I would say, but if I have a look at my brother's age, he's now I think 18, and he just finished school, and my the other brother is 20 and he also is now in his yeah, German, we would say Ausbildung, so training, for example, in the company. But some of their friends just do nothing. Like they're just, yeah, there are no actual plans, you know? I think
yeah,
it's, that is also, it hasn't been, don't has to be that way, but there, I think when you have had a look in the older generation, that would be never a
no,
thing.
yeah,
Never. Like if you would
like
say,
no option.
yeah, I think I finished school and now I need to chill and relax 5 years until I do my next step. That would be like no thing to talk about. And yeah, that is definitely a development. And I think what also changed. and also change then the behavior of the employee side is like, that the market changes. When you
Yes.
were older, there were like many applications at the boss office, and now there are no applications, and they have to really search for the right
The right
employees.
candidate.
So yeah, right, for the candidates, and I think that is also a trend which makes the younger generation, of course, in a better job applying position,
Mhm.
but it changes also the dynamic of how they think, of what they
Yeah,
value, and how the whole market has to adapt on that.
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you now describe those three different, I would say, generations, you had 60 to 90, 30 to 60, and 0 to 30. How do these differences especially influence now your style of management, and also so your leadership style and your approaches on how you communicate and how you behave towards those employees?
That one, for example, is something that I try. I think that somehow you have to work with everyone the same.
Hmm.
As you said, yeah, you have to adapt a little, but I would say that for special cases, you will adapt, or a specific topic, you will adapt to the person. Doesn't matter generation, but to the person. If you're already going to take the time to tackle a problem, you do it properly and you adapt specifically to the person. But like in the general leadership, I think the daily business and communication, I'll answer you in a moment, but overall try to treat everyone the same,
Hmm.
because I think that the moment that you start favoring someone else or someone from a generation, it could be misunderstood.
Hmm.
Because what if you start paying more attention to the young generation, the people with the knowledge, the people that you know that they can do the job, that they're reliable, may feel a bit like, "Hmm, why I don't feel value, I don't feel respect for what I have been doing," and someone is paying attention. And if you go to the other way around, also it's like, yeah, no one is teaching me, no one is paying attention to me. So I think it's better if you try to keep it everyone the same. And then if there's something really that, hey, we need to sit and talk, you do that. And you try to understand really if it's from the generation or is something from personality, if it's something from the person. But I think you have to keep the same, because the moment that you start moving and
Hmm.
trying to adapt to each of them, you um, you are opening the door to people asking for more or going underperforming.
Hmm.
And also, one of the most difficult things that I can have learned in life is you can never make everyone happy.
Yeah.
I mean, there's going to be always something that someone didn't like, and that's an unnecessary stress. And that's something that at the end, for example, in the day to day, that even if you say you are a director, even you could be the CFO, you could be the CEO, you have to do work. And that's something that the moment that you have to take care of the team. But something that my boss does is that we have a you fix every week, and that's when you're going to talk the topics with the people. And if there's something that you see that pop out there, that's what I'm trying to learn from him, is this thing like, we don't talk about this here, we talk it in private.
Mm.
And that's when you have the time to really go into what's happening with the person, with the team member. But the day to day, you have to keep it that everyone is receiving the same treatment, and that everyone feels the same, that there's no what could happen is that someone say, yeah, he's the favorite, she's the favorite.
Yeah.
And that's the type of conversation that you don't want to have. Because
Hmm.
if this really clear the generational thing, then it's going to be, yeah, it's because is the younger has to learn or something, or no, it's because it's the most experienced, and those type of things is something that could damage the complete structure and organization of a team.
Mm. Yeah, I see that point. I want to challenge a little bit that point,
Tell
right?
me.
I see it, but if we have, for example, now you're a leader and you have two employees, okay? You have two employees, and one is like a senior who has like really high expertise on his task and has the best results ever, okay? And then there's coming in a really junior guy like me. I don't know anything. I need like you give me a task and I'm always coming back to you and like, okay, but what can I do? So obviously I need a little bit more help and more attention probably as
Yes.
the other person. How do you deal with that, and not create this kind of sense that the other person thinks, oh man, this other person, the younger junior, gets now so much more attention, so much more value, and he's not even more interested in my good results.
I would go for the first involve the other person, because also that something that we have to always say. If you are a senior, if you have the experience and the know-how, you should manage things by yourself. Or you expect that the person will find solutions, or there are things that you don't have to be double checking, or that you know for sure, there was a problem here, that person should take care of. And in this case, you would approach and it's like, hey, wanna teach him? That would be a way to, that's something that I also learned from my boss, is like always involve the others in the solution.
Mm.
That's the best way. I mean, that's something that my boss always tell me, you have to involve everyone in any in finding the solutions. I mean, there's things that of course you have to come and say like, okay, we have to do this and that, and move and react. But in this case, and mostly if they're going to be a team members, they have to they have to start talking. The last thing that you want is that everyone is a one man show.
Mm.
What happened, and this is also not only in generations. Imagine you have a team, one is sick, one is on vacation, and the other says like, I don't know what the other does.
Mhm.
That cannot happen. The other person should be able to tell you, I'm not that thief in how he or she does the task, but I know that it has to be done like this. I can cover today.
Mhm.
The people have to be flexible, and the only way doing that if the people communicate, if the people can work together, and that would be the first solution. Of course, you are always there. I mean, at the end, you can always think, hey, if you are suffering your, if you cannot find a solution, if you are struggling with the software, tell me, escalate with me. But first, try by yourself, or two, as your colleague.
Mhm. So it goes rather into this kind of sense of creating a culture of how people interact with each other, and also to get an understanding like, okay, senior, that is like your environment, junior is that environment, and also like a understanding from the junior to the senior environment, and also on the other side.
Yes.
So okay, I get that. So a common understanding, and that is only it only goes through communication in the end, right?
Yeah. I mean, just think about your summit. I mean, you are literally putting and connecting the people.
Mm-hmm.
Because if not, there's no way that someone will come and, as you say, challenge or question, like, are you sure you are doing well? You will never know unless you put the people to talk. If you
Yeah,
connect them, if you give them the, like, talk to each other.
right.
Because I think something that uh, everyone hates is when you escalate things. If, for example, yeah, imagine that you go to my boss and say, like, you know what? Samara said things that she shouldn't say or something. I would tell you, why you didn't tell me first? Why we didn't talk? That's something that you could see in any type of generation, in with any type of people with different departments. first let's talk, you and I, let's see if we can solve something, and if it really doesn't work, you escalate.
Mm.
But the people have to communicate, because I think when someone does these things, you don't give them the chance to talk first, that's already going to change, and damage the dynamic. It won't be working together, but it would be like working to the person, like in the hierarchy, higher in hierarchy, and like almost like telling, please tell the younger to do this. And it's
Mm.
like, you don't want to do that. I mean, talk to the person, because also
Yeah.
that's one thing that you will see, that if it's not working, you really have to then have a serious conversation with the people, because also, not only because I adapt, but I think everyone also has to know that there are things that are not perfect in our jobs. But then you have to find a solution. You have to then find a way to either avoid that or solve it. Like, and if you say like, okay, I really cannot work with this person, so okay, I jump in. What we can do? What's happening? What bothers you? But if it's just like, no, I really just haven't talked with him or her, and I just don't feel comfortable. No, sit with him or her. Just give it a chance.
Mm.
You can never
Okay,
say, tell me, sorry.
no, no, no worries. I see. Your leadership understanding is also the understanding of an enabler in this kind of case. So you enable the people to interact in this team in the end. So also to enable them to solve their own problems, right? And not
Yeah.
only this. Yeah, if I have a problem, I go to my boss and then he gives me the solution. That is like, I think, like kind of old understanding of how that should work, but not that efficient on the other side, and not good for the team building on this kind
Yeah.
of perspective. So what I heard is now, but you say, okay, there needs to be an overall leadership style where you just have your approach, and that is then also, I think, when those individuals come into your office, I would say, and you have an eye to eye conversation, then you will probably adapt your communication style based on
Yeah.
who's sitting in front of you.
Yes.
Okay, so what how would you describe the ideal overall, like generic leadership style you probably approach in your company, and then let's switch to how is it looking if you have like an individual eye to eye conversation from different from the three generation types you described earlier.
That one from the leadership, I would go for that. Like, just treat everyone equally. I mean,
Hmm.
that's something that I would allow everyone the same opportunities and the same chances. I mean, there are things that doesn't matter the age. If the person is out working, is going the extra mile, if he's doing better, of course that person is going to get the benefit. But those are things that also are seen by everyone. If the person is underperforming, if the person is not delivering result, one mistake is not bad, but many, many mistakes could be bad. So that is like, okay, that's a red light. Let's jump and talk with the person. But it doesn't matter the age, it doesn't matter who the person is. They have the same chances. They have the weekly talk, or well, the weekly meeting to talk.
Hmm.
So everyone is the same moment to talk. And only, as you said, if there's something that we have to sit and talk about underperforming, or something that was mentioned in the weekly meeting, then we sit and talk. And that one also, I wouldn't do that differently. That would be person to person completely. Like, if could be personally in the office day from the team, you do it in person. If not, one to one on a meeting, but it has to be something that has to be a bit more personal.
Hmm.
I think also that that's something that comes also from I think from my generation and the youngest, that there's has to be a bit more of personal contact. a bit more of understanding. And I think that's really, really important to keep in mind, that the people want to be heard, and you have to let them talk, let them see that you are not only, how to say, in listening, but really paying attention,
Mm.
so you can understand. And I would focus that exactly, that is the person. I mean, I wouldn't like to give a general solution if someone is really telling me the problem. If it would be so easy, then we shouldn't be having this conversation, because technically then you are the same as the others, you know what are the rules, then follow them. But if we're having this conversation because there's something really either troubling the person, troubling you, or just something happened and the person needs some interaction or talk with you.
Mm. Yeah. I think what you just described is also that, like, active listening, right? Be really paying attention to the person, because in the end, no matter of what generation you come from, the needs of the human stay the same.
Yeah,
Doesn't matter if you're 2 years old, 20 years old, or 90 years old. You want to feel valuable, be acknowledged, right? And what I sometimes find like really interesting is like when people are in calls or something, and they, like, now you have your time to speak then, and then they are doing everything, not looking into the camera, not actively listening, and you like, so the impression what is created on the other side is like, even though he's listening, he has to like fully concentrate his whole body attention and his face attention into for you, right?
yeah,
And then you could even think of like not listening, but it feels like you are listening, right? And that is the result there, is to create this acknowledgement of the other person. So, and that is everything in the end. It doesn't really matter that much what you say, but more how is the conversation between two people, how's the body language. And I think so many people miss out of that and don't understand how important that is. And sometimes, especially sometimes in the finance context, they are really rational, like fact based, but they don't understand. Of course, not everyone. There are some people who are brilliant and excellent in that kind of sense. But I feel sometimes a tendency where people are too fact based and rational based on their thinking, and too logical, but don't understand that it will always stay a people to people business, and then you
yeah,
have to keep in mind what are the people needs, and how do they perceive you, and how you interact and how you communicate. But sometimes that touch is so so many miles away from being really like active listener and active paying attention, and especially in leadership, where the employees always kind of looking up to you and like reflecting on how you do your leadership. It
yeah.
is way more important.
Yeah, I think that's, for example, also that because also I see it with my boss, is, as you say, this active listening, and is this I care, because
Right.
that's the biggest matter. Because at the end is this thing that I mean, with my boss, that's something that I can really like speak so freely with him, and I'm with him in a eye level, that even if he's my boss, I know that I can like tell him directly, like, no, I don't think that's right, or like I can challenge him and everything. But is okay, I know, because he respect my work, and I would expect that with the people that I'm working, the ones that will come to me with a topic, are also like going to come and tell me the things as they are. And if it's really just this part of performance, that's when I would tell you, that's when the the facts come into play.
Hmm.
When you are really, for example, from the people with more experience, I perhaps would be more pushy, because
Hmm.
when there's coming the mistake, that's when you have to sit and say, like, hey, what's happening? Because this is something that you have been doing perhaps for 17 years. That would be a bit tough conversation.
Yeah.
And that would be completely eye to eye, just like I would do it with the young. I think you should never put someone that is learning in a position in front of everyone of you screw up, or
Mm-hmm.
things like that. That's things that, like I tell you, this thing of you have a group meeting, but there are things like we are not talking about this here, we talk in private, and that's when you are going to sit and is this thing that why you're having the conversation, why I'm listening to you is because I care. We need to understand what's happening, and that's when the people, as you said, you will listen, you will understand what's happening to the person, and that could be where it gets different. But I think also it's not that much on the generation, it's more on the same person, because it could be many things happening from personal life, from I don't know, something that is we have a new software, it didn't work, or things like that. And
Mm-hmm.
that why that if you're taking really the time to do something, you're going to do it right. I mean, I think that's something that you and always think in your life. I mean, it's like, okay, I'm going to do this job once, but I'm going to do it one and properly. So I don't have to come back and repeat the job because I did mistakes. I think in finance, in controlling is something like that, like I'm going to do the reporting, I'm going to do something, okay, I'm going to set up the process, I'm going to do it right, I'm going to invest my time to avoid problems later. Do the same with the people. It should be no different. And as you say, it's a person, at the end, we're working with people. So if you're going to already invest the time, sit, listen, try to see what's going on. And then as you say, sometimes people just want to talk and that they know that you care and you listen.
Mm-hmm.
And they even perhaps already have found a solution and they will present it to you.
Yeah.
But it could be that also someone comes and tells you, like, I don't know what to do. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, let's find a solution here.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. You're definitely right. You have to always get to know also the backgrounds for things coming up when, for example, mistakes repeat themselves, and it is a personal thing. It is a competence thing. Is it because software is not working? You're 100% right. Not it doesn't matter in that case which generation you're coming from. Then it's just like to get the real needs from the individual person. Did you experience, like, when you have a look on the younger generation now, who are probably in the beginning of their career, and you want to motivate them? That is the case. You want to motivate them, to have them really on the board, so they can drive productivity and efficiency. What kind of feedback do they prefer in general?
That one, it's, I have to be honest, at the beginning, I was, I think, the nightmare of all our Azubis, our apprentices. No,
Uh-huh.
really. And because I could be, depending on the person, I was demanding because I know they are learning and they are like younger people that they haven't done the job before. So for me was when someone would tell me, I really want to learn, I want to do controlling, okay, then you are going to learn. So I was a bit of that. There were others like, yeah, I just want to do my part in finance, and they will jump. But what I did with everyone
Hmm.
was give the feedback directly every single time, telling me they did right or wrong, because that's the only way that they are going to learn. I mean, and I would do the same also with other younger employee or something. You do something, and I tell you directly, you did well, you didn't do well. And why is that important? Because that's, as you are learning, you want that the things that you would do good remains. That, oh, I was good at this, then I know that I have to keep doing like this or better.
Hmm.
If you did something wrong, it's like, okay, why I did wrong, I should avoid that. And then you start changing and going again to the right direction. Because that's the thing, that if they are doing the job for the first time, they have to know. what is correct, what is not correct. So to them, the feedback goes directly after they finish the task. If it was an ad hoc thing and
Mhm.
they there was a mistake, it's like, okay, you did wrong because this happened. Explain why. And no problem. It was one time, an ad hoc, a request or whatever. If it's a routinary job, something that I'm fun is documentation. Is like, okay, you did this wrong because you missed this and that, and you give the feedback. Please make your notes so the next time you do this doesn't happen again.
Mhm.
Two times, three times, it's okay. But if it's like, I think the fourth time I would talk again, like, where are your notes? Why? I mean, but that's the thing. You have to give the feedback directly after they do the activity, because if you don't tell them, they make a mistake once and they don't know it was correct, wasn't correct. No one said anything. I do it again. So yeah, I would
Yeah,
go directly feedback directly. Yeah.
I think that is really important, especially when you're in the learning phase. You have to know what is now right, what is now wrong, because you actually don't know what you're doing, especially,
Yeah.
right? So you need feedback to get the right evaluation on your actions. Um, if you have now, if you just mentioned a nice example of, okay, please do note what I just told you, like
Yeah.
that is the right um, process and that's the right action to do in that case, so they learn. Do you see like I would say generational difference on
Yeah.
how our younger generation is like behaving in those kind of things? Because
I-
I think a general a sentence is like, oh, this generation Z is so lazy and they always only want balance but not the work, and they always want life but not the work. So do you see that?
I see. I mean, I have to be honest. I just had a really interesting experience because, I'm, for example, with my voice, I make notes and I always do it on my laptop. When
Mm,
we're working, I commonly work with three screens. And I had one where, okay, we have to do this, and I make my notes and I always see them like in my tasks to do. I also see that some of the young people also is like they make the notes on the side, or what I do with them, because I think the younger generation tends to be also more visual, screenshots. I just send you a screenshot, please check, and
okay,
I
yeah.
send it. And the older generation is really funny, but it's not bad. I think that's something that also my boss always tell me, like, I really like to think about eco-friendly actions or ways that we can do the footprint, reduce our footprint. So I'm really, of course, a bit more paperless person. And that was something that I have a colleague from another generation that she prints almost everything. But that's
Nice.
something that
Yeah.
my boss was telling me, that at the end, if that's what she needs to do their job, what is more comfortable for her, let her do it. And that's something that that you really see. I mean, how the people make the notes, how people think. That's when I would say that's when you really see the generational thing, that you see how some prefer, like, I mean, like, you make the note online, you would follow up there or something, and the one's like, okay, let me take notes. And then you take notes, and it's okay at the end, it's okay. So,
Yeah.
but that's something that you can really see. I mean, that's but also I have seen, like, also people from my generation that also they prefer still to make notes with handwriting. But I
Mm.
read that actually is better. You retain that better in the head,
It's
because
way
there's,
better. It's way
yeah,
better. It's yeah, that's kind sometimes I think a big dilemma, when this digitization it's so important. And for me, I always do my notes in the note app on my phone, or just make a calendar entry and just write, Tjorve, please think when you go I don't know, grocery shopping to buy the bananas or something. I don't know, right? And then
Yeah.
I just make a calendar entry so I get remembered. Then when I look to my father, he's always doing this kind of notes on stickers, and then just pointing it everywhere in the house so he knows when he goes like there. Ah, yeah, I wanted to buy this and that, right? And it's a completely different style, but in the end, of course, this
It,
connection here of how you learn to
yeah.
get the language and everything that is combined also with your brain, it's way
Brain.
better. So it's
Yeah.
not always like smart to do the digital things, but of
Yeah.
course, I think when it's you should choose the most comfortable way, because
For you.
then you are most likely to actually do it and get remembered, and that's the result you want to achieve, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was something that is really really interesting. I mean, is that's really one of the things that you can really see. But it
Mm.
was really fun when I saw a team member with one of the young generation that she was already asking him like, "Hey, can you set me my flash on my handy?" So also you see this type of conversation that is not too related to work, but it's nice to see them talking. This
Yeah.
thing that she's like, can you show me how to put this in the handy? And he was like, yeah, let me show you. And it was so sweet to see that, because it's this thing that at the end you want them to work together. And that's
Yeah,
really
I think that if you, and that is probably also like responsibility of the leader from the team to create this kind of atmosphere, this kind of culture that the team interacts with each other and
yeah.
gains like synergies between those people. I think that is really important. And you stated that now some numerous times, and I think it's, yeah, probably one of the most efficient ways to create a productive team, and a really efficient team. But you have
And
also now, yeah, go for it, go for it.
yeah, I wanted to ask you something, because that's something that right now I was
Hmm.
talking with my boss, and we both have not a solution. But now that you're also like thinking also a lot about this topic, I would like to, perhaps you can help me with this question. I mean, team event. You want like a team building activity. What do you do when you have these generations? Because for us, is this thing like, let's have lunch. Team lunch always works, doesn't matter. But there are people that like do hiking, so you can like say, yeah, today we do a team day where we all go hiking or so. But what happens when you have really different people, different ages, and different
Mm.
interests? What would you do?
First thing, what is coming in my mind, wouldn't do it top down to say like, team, please, we do that. Now you have to all come together to what I just thought is a good idea. I would probably do like a smaller group in this kind of team, from one senior, one like 30-year-old, and one junior in this kind of sense, and say, look, you have now the a nice task to find the activity. But then you have like, I think what is now important is to have like three perspectives, and giving them the goal. Okay, look, we want to have an activity which includes, of course, you cannot
In a group.
always close include every interest and every perspective, but that is, I think, the best way. And also, it is like the team's choice then, right? It is
That's really
they,
smart. Yeah.
yeah, they are creating the activity. And I think it is also, if you give it the right frame, right, to say, look, we are really proud of your work, and we are really happy with that, and we want to have a nice activity together as a team to kind of value that everything. And we also want that you have the choice to choose your ideal activity, right? So here, give that to them, and then it's also a good frame how they can take that as a as an acknowledgement, I would say, and then create based on three different perspectives the ideal activity. I think that has many many advantages, right?
Yeah.
But That is
No,
my
but
first
also,
thought
as
now.
you said, that's also the sense of we have a team project. I
Yeah.
don't work with you that much. We know what we are doing, but this is something that we have to do together
Mm.
and bring the same goal to this. So that's really, really good.
Yeah. Probably is.
No,
Yeah.
but that's a really good one. I mean, and also, I don't know why I didn't thought about it because it's exactly what I'm telling you that give them the way to discuss, to find a solution together, to talk together, and this is exactly the place or like enable them to do that, like talk to each other, people.
Yeah, and I think most
That's really
important is always this kind of involvement. Involvement is plays such a huge role in team building. What I experience, of course, I sometimes feel weird if I like talk on this. Like, yeah, I think it's good, but I'm 24. You know what? I think I had some good experience, of course, but short disclaimer. All right, you don't have to take it too seriously, but. I think involvement creates acknowledgement, and that fulfills the need of the human then in the end. And I think that is a good frame or perspective how to put it. Now you have different kinds of how you motivate, as you already told, with the younger generation. Now I think like especially those senior employees, right? They are probably 60 and like, I only have 4 years to work, so yeah, let's just chill. 4 years easy. And how do you like lead those people also that they don't only relax and like, yeah, I have a good rent and I'm happy to live my life on my balcony or something, and to also fulfill the needs of the company, right? There has to be a balance. How do you get that?
that's something that it has a pro that that's a generation that also the work was so important for them
Mm-hmm.
because also that's something that that overall they will do the job that they would do it. And the thing is that this was also something that was completely out of control, that we had so more changes in the last 2 years in our agency. And my we have also a really interesting structure. Instead of having just a CEO, we have
Mm-hmm.
our chief product officer, chief road officer, which is a woman. That's really nice to see. And the CFO, the chief financial officer, my boss. And they three make the decision. I mean, it's a really in structure has been working, and suddenly, while this structure happened, many things start changing from the roof. But there were really things that were out of our control.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, they adapt, they learn, and I jump in that, like, okay, we need to adapt to the new software, to this new structure, to this new process. And the problem was that for the people that was longer in the company, that was something that was seen with a bit of rejection.
Mm-hmm.
And that people that it was not that much about motivation of keeping them alive, but to not stop. It was a way that not all of them, but there was one colleague like, oh, it's just why is that happening? But okay, I'll do it. For me, that's okay, And then you try to motivate with other things like, hey, how are you doing? I mean, something that my boss does from time to time is like bring some transportation to the meetings. Right? So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes also when it was Montplois or something, bring chocolate. No, it's these things that just the gesture, the attention of
Mm-hmm.
you. I know it was a tough month, but thank you for your work.
Yeah.
And that's okay. But the problem is when you have the people that directly something changed, and it was really not even that you said, yeah, we're starting a new process, we're going to do something, but something changed, you have to react. And why is this happening? I don't like it. And so it's like, those are the people that is not about motivation, is about or perhaps it's motivation, but just that you have to do it. And that is really the moment that you're like, I'm sorry that you did this for so many years, but now it has to be like this.
Mm.
So it's more about the talks about changes, because the motivation could be really different, because you see that luckily the team, they like the job, they like talking with the other departments. So I think it's not the motivation, it's just the adaptation to change. And that's also something that I think not only for them but for every single department, every single person, change is something that people manage really differently. And
Yeah.
when it's people that have been for so many years working in one way, and suddenly the things, many changes start happening, is, I have to be honest, it's difficult for one when you're like going and it's like, okay, we need to react, we need to be proactive, we need to do something, and you're having this clash. And that's something that is really difficult, because it's really that you cannot even offer the way like, okay, how would you do it, we can do it differently, give me some input, and we create a new process. There are
Mm.
things that is just like, we have to do it like this and now.
Yeah.
And most of the time what I see with the people that has been longer is that is just complaining. And that's the problem. I mean, something that my boss taught me is like, ask them, do you have a solution? And most of the time it's like, no, I don't know what to do. And that's when I just jump in and say, okay, we're going to do this and that, take the subi and do this, or we do this, and directly find a solution. That's how I
Mm.
am. So it's like, I'm sorry, I don't have time to suffer or to cry, we need to do something.
Yeah, it's also, I mean, it's, I think, in many ways good also for the other person. Of course, you want to, like, yeah, I think, sure, it's now not easy and blah, get the emotional, get him on the emotional train, but also you have him to get the person on the, like, company train, right? We want to go this direction, and it is also helpful for the person to not, like, fall just for the complaints and, like, stick to the negative emotion, right? That is not also not productive for anyone, and especially not the person itself. And I think a big part plays also always in changes this fear of not knowing what comes next, right? And
Yeah.
it is like different terrain you are on, and you don't really know how to act, or how will my life be with the software, or when AI comes, or whatever. But in the end, it's just fear. And if you can handle the fear, and if you see the next step, right, you say, for example, look, we do that now, this and that, start with that, then it like disappears in some degree, I would say. So
Yeah.
because you see, you can see again, and because of that, I think people are sometimes lost then, and don't see the perspective, the
Mm.
alternatives. And if they don't see anything, then fear comes up, because they start, like, being not confident anymore, because they don't see their value, because they actually doing nothing in that moment, in this case. But if you then take them on the vision where you want to go, and also how the next steps look, and how you want to solve it, and what now the really next step is this person can take, I think then it disappears to a big degree. You can get the employee on the train, and also productivity on your way.
Yeah.
And I think that is a big, like, communication thing in the end from the leadership, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit, yeah, the communication, and is this thing that, for example, you, as you said, is fear. I mean, you are really right. Is fear for me was a bit that gave me a really different perspective, because for me
Mm.
was just this thing like, change always happens. You cannot stop it. But you're right. It's because you are scared. You are afraid. So it's mostly fear. It's not. just rejection or to be unsupportive. It's just people are afraid. So it's
Yeah.
really nice. I mean, and you tell me that because it's something that for me, when I see that there's a problem, we have to react quickly. I'm hands on. And that could be also this thing that I tell you I'm a bit really intense. So for
Mm,
me, it's like, I cannot offer you I cannot like offer you anything else right now. So just let's do this now and get
mm,
results. And that's something that, of course, if the people is afraid or something, is like, okay, yes, let's do it, but it's not solving the problem. And that's something that also for me is important to then work on it, because that's something that right now I have another different project, and it's also with a colleague that has been talking and talking about why certain things are not working. So then is this moment that is like, okay, let's find a solution. What do you think this? And that's really different because you know that something will change, but you are controlling it. You know where you want to go and you work on that. But this thing that suddenly, hey, it's just this happened. It could be also like, I don't understand it. And then
mm.
that comes again the fear, because it's like, why you didn't do this, why you didn't follow the new process or something, this, the I don't understand. And I think that could be also something that for the seniors or the people with more experience, saying I don't understand is something that people feel uncomfortable. I think that's also
Yeah.
something that I can see in the generations. The youngers, because also I think they know that they're there to learn and they can make mistakes. I think also they know that, okay, I failed, but I will learn. But when you're more experienced, this fear or failure in this case, or I made a mistake, I don't understand, you can have something that I feel dumb.
100%. And it questions, in their eyes, their whole credibility to be
Yeah.
in that job position. For me, for example, I think especially now in the first podcast, right? I was like, the first podcast when I heard it, how often do you want to say Tjorve? You know, when you're thinking, and I was like, Tjorve, if you do a drinking game of it, you would be like that. I don't know, right? And, but then there was a moment where I just accepted it. Just like, okay, you know, you're not perfect, you will never be. And, but that created a sense of, I don't care. You know, I don't care so much anymore. And when that started, it was all way easier. But I think we are always getting into this in this situations in work and in life where we're just starting to feel a change, right? And then fear comes up, frustration comes up because things don't work the way out as we would wish them to. And then you have to handle that. And I think it always, of course, like on a rational and logical basis, it is, for example, okay, we invented a software. Now you have to use the software and not send a letter, right? And do it please digitally, for example. That is the logical way of thinking that. But the emotional thing is probably then, but I did it 30 years that way. What is if I cannot do it with this computer thing there, right? And then those questions, those emotions come up. And I always think that you have to get the emotion, then also if the emotion is in the right state, then also your productivity, your effectiveness, everything will adapt.
Yeah.
But for me, because podcast wise, in my shorter experience now, it was okay, you know what, I don't care, I will say stupid things every podcast and that is no problem. Okay, so I'm easier in an easier state and I'm just more fluent than before. And that is what also created the better result in the end, where we all always look. But it started with the emotion and to change the emotion into the right state. And then also the rational fact based actions adapted to that. And I think it's always this kind of way. And you know, today last podcast, I was like having the strongest language mistake you could have, but I was just laughing and I was cutting two things because my podcast guest forgot the question, and they were like, okay, let's repeat it shortly. But my mistake, I just let it in because I think it's funny. And that is, I think, that is now one success in that kind of sense I gained in the short experience. But I have that every day, and then people, or also colleagues or mentors, get you in the right position, because from the own experience perspective, it is really hard to do that.
Yeah, but for example, that's also something that is, I mean, it could be also something generational. I mean, you're 24, and also that's why you're a bit more fearless. Because also,
Probably, yeah.
the podcast also, I mean, I saw the milestone, like 1,000
Mhm.
on Spotify. So that's really, really great. It's nice. And it was something that, okay, I make a mistake, just keep going. And that's also something that, for example, as I say, okay, there's a mistake, just keep going. Let's get a solution, like hands on the job. And that's the thing that also it could be that is a bit different for us right now
Mm.
than perhaps what with 20, let's say in 20 years, you would say like, oh my God, I left that in the podcast instead of editing. I mean, it could be.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're probably right. Yeah, that will also change this perspective. Yeah, you're right. I think that is also probably a generational, also has a big impact on how you see that and how your perspective is. Yeah.
Wow.
And now you have like senior employees who will eventually leave the company and go to their well-deserved rest after working for many years. But they have gained along the way incredible, valuable knowledge. And you want to have that in your company because it's
Yeah.
really productive and creates efficiency. So, how do you enable the knowledge transfer from senior employees to the younger junior employees and colleagues?
Um, like I was mentioned before, I'm super fan of documented everything
Hmm.
because I think that's something that when I left a company, I did I mean, I knew that some people would do the work, and what I
Hmm.
did is like prepare a documentation of how I was doing things. I think documentation is one of the best things that you can do. I mean, talking and when you are really paying attention is really nice, and so, but the to-dos, we always write it down. We put it, as you said, either in paper, in post-its like
Yeah,
your
it's smart.
cat,
Hmm.
or on digitally. You put them because you need to remember, you need to know what you're doing. And I'm really like into, you have to document everything. And right now that's something that I want, that this knowledge, this know-how is documented. That
Mm.
if, of course, learning by doing, teaching to the young generation, but some, but there's things that if I know that I can go and check in my computer a document where I know like, I have to do this, like it can happen to anyone. The Jordan is like, why is not working? I mean, it had happened to me. My with my boss, that we cover each other for certain reporting or reports or documents. It can happen that just running like a is not, the formula is not working, or why is not downloading, and it's like, yeah, you just forgot that you have to download something, then Hocladen, or it can happen anything, little detail, like they say, devil is in the details. And it could happen that there's something that you just forget. So for
Yeah.
me, this thing like, you have to document what have you been doing, who are your the Ansprech partner, who you have to. Yeah, sorry, this one
No,
I
no,
just
it's
know it
perfect.
in
It's
German.
perfect. I thought just about the English vocab, and I don't know. So perfect. Ansprechpartner is great. Yeah.
Yeah, contact person or your
Contact person.
contact person. Yeah,
Yeah.
I just unfortunately there are things that I have to be honest that I just learned here in Germany that I cannot even translate in Spanish. Even like normal things from the kitchen or anything that when
Mm.
I told my mom is just I don't know what we call that in Mexico. I learned it here in Germany. So
Nice. Yeah.
and for example, that's something that I tell the people document everything.
Mm.
And also, that's exactly one of the tasks is this thing that if the people really work as a team, there should be like a manual or a handbook that they know that everyone can work with each other, that everyone can cover each other, because that's something that even not only when someone is living into retirement, what if someone is going on vacation? I mean, we
Mm.
tend to say like, yeah, I'll teach you, you just have to do this and that. When I come back, I do that, but you are like covering the sun with a finger instead of really saying like this thing that I told you, if you're going to do something, sit and do it properly. If you're
Mm.
already going to pursue documentation like while I'm going on vacation, what I'm doing this, perhaps you can already prepare it properly so the
Yeah.
other person can do it. and
Yeah.
and I know that some people, as you said, there's some fear to say like either artificial intelligence will take my or automatization digital, or what if I document what I'm doing and someone will take my job. I think everyone should be confident or what is your value, what you are doing, that you should not fear of showing what you do or being transparent with what you do. If
Mm.
you're really being really secretive or something, then I honestly then I would rather sit with the person and say like, no one has to know if you did mistakes, if you have skeletons in the closet, but tell me, is there something that I have to know? Because it could be that someone made a mistake and it's like, yeah, I didn't know where to book this account, this cost in an account. And but if you know what you are doing, if you are confident, if you have done the job, you should be able to share that knowledge. And that's why documentation, just prepare a document on how you do this, how you prepare this, how do you issue this report. And then, of course, something that my boss like is like, okay, if you're going to do a manual, give it to an apprentice, to an asubi or someone that read it. If ask something like, I don't understand this part, or what do you mean with this, then you know, I have to change it.
Mm. Yeah,
But
I think
really,
that is so smart to just also create processes where you create a kind of learning organization because you save the knowledge into your resource center in this
yeah,
company, right? Because people are adapting to the behaviors that they just like write down how they did it. And so you don't have to do it like only like when you speak to the person, but they also can have a resource look into the
yeah,
processes and to just create this kind of behavior into the team is
yeah,
really yeah, makes sense and every but it's like for me I just thought about, but unfortunately of course some people or some organizations do that, but there are also many who don't, or they have it but they don't use it. So it's also like a thing of communication from those leaders, always remembering and getting those behaviors into the people, right?
yeah. I mean, that's something that also you cannot imagine how much happens in finance and or in controlling that. Um, Legacy files. You know, this
Mm.
thing that someone says like, "Hey, do you know why does this allocation of cost is like this?" I don't know. They have been using these calculations since 7 years. You know, and until you raise a question or that you say, "Hey, we can improve this template," and you know, a bit of saying that the documentation. That's yeah, that's a tricky part because I think it's really good to have the resource that even if you forget something, you can go somewhere and find it. But if it's not update, if it's not understood, you already will lose the people, and the people won't even try to read it. So
Right,
that's
yeah.
that's a really tricky situation, and as you said, that has to be also promoted from the same organization. I
Yeah.
mean, we have a collaboration tool that has all the employees instructions, that talks about everything, about even the policies of travel expense, many things, and people can go and check there. But still, as always, sometimes happen that someone comes and tell you like, how should I do my travel expenses? And it's like, look here in this link, you can check. And I know that's something that many people also find a bit passive aggressive, but it's not meant to be that.
I think it's the it. Yeah, I totally see that it's kind of passive aggressive, right? But it is also, it always relates, I think, to the how you say that, right? How you
Yeah.
communicate it. And if you say, that is such a nice question that you're asking, that we have made the actions to show it here in detail. So if I speak to you, I don't forget the details, right? And so you can best do your work. Okay, nice. Let's do it that way. Um, Now you have gained many experience, I think, and did or got to know many different employees from different generations. What would be now your like best practices you would recommend other leaders to lead and work with a diverse team?
I would go for three things. One would be, and that should come from the a bit from the company,
Hmm.
and luckily my agency does that. Flexible work. In which way? That is not only about the home office. I mean, the home office I think is something that changed for good to many people, but
Hmm.
also like work flexible times. And why? I believe this promotes empathy.
Yeah,
Let's
it
say
does. Yeah.
if, yeah, I mean, you just have to think, Jorve. If I tell you, hey, on Monday I'll arrive late, I have a doctor appointment, but I
Hmm.
stay longer, or I work longer last month closing. Say, it's okay, because you know that that could happen to you. So is this thing that
100%.
you are,
Yeah.
yeah, that you're putting everyone in everyone else's shoes. Hey, I'm staying in home office. The technica that do these things that they do in Germany, the check of the windows. I know that they do almost every year in Germany. This thing of checking the window. The technical is coming, so I have to be there. The technician is coming. I'm going to work from home, and you would say, yeah, and the team starts having an, I think, a way of thinking of the others the same, because you know that that could happen to you, that sometimes, even if it's not the same generation, if someone say, I have to pick up my kids, I'm going to leave early and I work from home,
Hmm.
the junior can say like, today I'm closing early the day, I have to study for an exam. If you allow these things, you show that everyone at the end is human. We all are humans, we all have some other thing we have to understand each other and respect each other. That one, I think, is one of the best solutions, because it's just that create empathy for everyone. The second one would be treat everyone the same. I like I tell you, if you are going to solve something or tackle something, you take the time for the person, not the generation, for the specific person and the specific problem at the table. But everyone should know that everything is the same, that everyone has the same right to say the things, everyone has the same chances for a promotion. It doesn't matter if you are the youngest, the oldest, if you earn it, you will see it, that everyone knows that there's no favorites, that no one is having a special treatment. And if it's something that looks special, should not be it has to be really because of the circumstances. But that's why this thing of the company offering work flexible hours and the flexible home office should solve some of the special circumstances that can happen to anyone. So
Yeah.
that way you are not giving favors to anyone. It's like, yeah, that person already informed us, so due to these circumstances, this person would work differently. But everyone is treated the same. So, and the third one, that's something that I have, that I would say is also a target for me, is like to find a common goal. This
Mhm.
thing that I want that everyone can work together, everyone can substitute each other in the task is, I think that would be the common goal, because everyone else understand what the others are doing, where are we going, and at the end, what part of my work is seeing for the whole company.
Yeah,
So it would be
great.
those
I
three
think
things.
great overview. And if I would disagree, I would say that, but I'm 100% with you. I think it's so important just to treat human as a human, right? And don't make some weird, yeah, other perspectives on it, that you now have the biggest hierarchy and you can talk in a completely different way just because you're a position above them. And I think that is my how I see it. It is really recommendable. Yeah. Thank you so much for your insights, for your perspectives, and your experiences, and that you shared those with us today. It was really valuable, and also great to have the first English spoken episode here today. And I think we did well. So that was a good one. In the end, we have those quick fire questions I mentioned a little earlier to you. And here now coming the really hard questions. Yeah, you're doing that. That is right, because now it's getting intense.
It's like, okay,
Um,
I'm ready.
nice. Really good. Okay, let's start with
I
my
know the
favorite.
German, North German for that, like, um, uh, how was it? Last you can compel.
One more time. Say one more time.
Last you can compel. No?
Man. I think I
That's to
know in
all
what
school.
direction it goes, but I don't recognize the direct link now. But
Okay,
you
then
will
Buddha
send
by
me
the
what
Fische.
expect. Yeah. We say so mocken wir dat, right? The Plattdeutsch
So walk
slang.
with that, yeah.
So mocken wir dat. Nice. All right.
So walk with that.
Fir- First question. That's my favorite one. It's like, which purchase worth of maximum 100 euros has had the most positive impact on you in the last 6 months?
My running shoes.
All right. Yeah, yeah. That is a thing I heard now twice, I think. So people, or it is
I'm
usually
not
earphones, so
special.
something for running. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great, great. Is there a book you would recommend for everyone here?
A book, Frankenstein.
All right. All right. What should never be missing in your office?
Water.
That is healthy, I would say. Yeah. Um, a character trait that best describes you.
Intense.
Intense, yeah. Um, a financial trend you should definitely keep an eye on.
Automatization.
Do you have a morning routine that you never skip?
uh, Drink my cup of coffee sitting in front of my terrace. Even on winter, if it's
Mhm.
closed, I love to watch into the garden, drinking my coffee.
Okay, yeah. What is your favorite activity outside of work?
Painting.
Painting, right? Creative, yeah. What's the best investment you have ever made, professionally or personally?
I have. I would like to say education that my parent gave me, but
Mhm.
just recently I would say Bitcoin, because we got the high historical price of 98,000 US dollars. So I'm quite
Yeah,
happy about that.
I'm also quite big invested into crypto, so I love to watch my portfolio right now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Oh, good one, good one. If you had to challenge one of your finance executive peers to join this podcast episode, who would you challenge?
Mirko Meyer,
Mirko Meyer.
and
Okay,
he's
what
an
is he?
Iron Man.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Okay, all right, all right. I
he
will keep
is
that.
the
Yeah.
CFO from my company.
Mhm.
Yeah, he is. I can tell you, and why I tell you he's an Iron Man, because he literally in the last 2 years when I have been working with him, he had 1 year of preparation for the Ironman, and he did it on the most amazing way possible. He literally took a test to see his condition. He set
Mhm.
up his targets, and slowly he started improving. He was measuring himself, and by measuring, he knew if he was getting better, was getting worse, what he could improve. I mean, it was so amazing to finance and controlling, and he applied it to his personal life. So
Yeah.
you have to invite him to the next podcast.
All right, great. Sounds like a really inspiring person. And I think that is always funny because when I have a look at my business partner, how he like organizes personal things, it is always with an Excel document. You know, it's always like structuring the things, and there the finance guy comes out of him. But it's always really productive and makes in many ways sense. So I'm happy to have him. Yeah, last question. Where can the listeners find more about you and your work?
Well, I think they can find me in one of your connections in LinkedIn. I'm happy to hear questions if someone will reach out. And if not, we have a really nice office in Atlantic House. And they can also get to know my agency, which we have really interesting services and clients. We commonly have chocolate in the office as well, so
Oh, that
they can
is a
also
good
stop
thing
by.
always to go to for the chocolate bar. Nice. Samara, please, thank you so much for this nice episode. 2 hours, I think. But why is it now so long? It's so long because I really enjoyed the conversation, and I think we had a good talk, a good dialogue, and I'm really grateful that you joined us here on the Finance Executive Podcast with the first English spoken episode. Great way to spend the Saturday, actually, right? What an investment, what an engagement on a Saturday. And thank you so much for having you.
It was my pleasure. It was really nice to be part, and it's so nice to talk to you. So it was. Thank you for the great Saturday. We can finish November perfectly.
Perfect. Thank you so much, and see you soon. Bye bye.
Bye.
Das war es mit dieser Folge des Finance Executive Podcast. Ich hoffe, du konntest wertvolle Einblicke gewinnen. Wenn du mehr solcher Gespräche und tiefgehende Analysen erleben möchtest, darfst du auf keinen Fall den Finance Executive Summit verpassen. Das exklusivste, inhaltlich hochwertigste und interaktivste Eventformat für CFOs, VPs und Finance Leads im Dachraum. Alle Infos dazu findest du in den Shownotes. Vielen Dank fürs Zuhören und bis zur nächsten Episode.